He reincarnates as a prodigious noble mage, but his family hates him. If you dig my recaps, don't forget to subscribe and smash that notification bell. The girl says that a boy is very interesting because he has just the right amount of madness, and that this insanity isn't just aimlessly directed but focused. Honestly, the boy thinks this is more of an insult, but she insists it's a compliment. Eventually, she asks if the boy desires power, to which he admits he couldn't say no. She rephrases her question, asking if he wants more magic. Then the young man enthusiastically replies, yes. Suddenly, the same boy is awakened by a maid. He gets up from the table where he was sleeping and notices he's at a lavish party, not exactly sure where he is as he only remembers having a drink after work. Confused, the boy goes to a mirror and screams when he realizes he is just a child. His scream attracts everyone's attention at the party, and then a man states that Liam may be the fifth son, but he is still a member of the Hamilton family and as such should show composure. With that, the maid mentions that the boss is in a good mood today, though Liam doesn't see it that way. She explains that this is because the Earl of Hamilton has finally had a daughter after many sons. Therefore, the girl wishes Liam would enjoy his sister's party. Clueless, the boy wonders if this is all a dream. Then he wakes up in bed in the same body and realizes it wasn't a dream. The maid knocks on the door and says she has brought his clothes. While being dressed by the maids, the boy reflects that the owner of this body was named Liam Hamilton, the fifth son of the Earl. Yesterday's party was a celebration for the birth of the youngest daughter, but Liam has no idea why this is happening. After getting dressed, he goes to one of the mansion's balconies and is amazed by the size of the yard, especially when the maid tells him that all the land he can see belongs to the Hamilton family. Then he meets Bruno, the fourth son. Bruno wants his sister to marry someone from the royal family, as it would provide security for the Hamiltons even though they are on the verge of being ousted. Their father and the eldest brother, Albrevet, are anxious to make everything work out. Liam asks what this talk of being ousted is about, and his brother reminds him that this was the nation's decision, as all noble families must accomplish something every 3 generations. Otherwise, they lose their status. The moment their father, the third head of the house, nominates one of the sons to be his successor, the Hamiltons will become commoners. Naturally, the family heads are desperate to remain nobility, but Bruno is pleased to see the flow as it should be, so he can do whatever he wants. Besides being 12 years old, Liam needs to start thinking about the future. At that moment, a man enters the room and announces that it's time for magic class. Liam can't hide his excitement and gets up to celebrate, asking if they study magic around here. Trying to understand his brother's strange behavior, Bruno mentions that the family has grimoires in the storage, but the boy shouldn't get too excited. After all, only 1 in 100 people have an affinity for magic. Nonetheless, the teacher believes it's important to study what magic is. Without wasting time after class, Liam rushes to the maid he knows and asks her to show him the grimoires. She takes the boy to a library where he smells the books and walks through the shelves until he picks a grimoire on beginner's fire magic. After reading a section of a chapter, he focuses his mind and conjures a small flame on his index finger. The maid applauds the master's gift, as it was said it's rare for someone to possess magic in their being. After that, Liam goes to his father and asks to take some books from the library. Not paying much attention to the young man, the Earl allows it and sends him away as he's busy. After leaving, Liam doesn't like how cold the man is, but at least he got the permission he wanted. Thus, he lights candles in his room and reflects on how magic is the aggregation of knowledge. Knowledge is a weapon monopolized by kings and nobles, if the young boy is in a position to study this art freely. The next day, he tests the flame cutter ability and is pleased to see he's progressing rapidly. In time, he intends to invoke these spells without the need for a book. A month later, he shows Bruno that he can use the flame cutter without a book in just a month. Astonished by his brother's rapid progression, Bruno takes the book in search of some hidden secret that explains this, but nothing seems out of the ordinary in that grimoire. Not wanting to fall behind, the fourth son reaches out to conjure magic but fails miserably and recognizes that his brother truly has the talent for it. After all, it usually takes a year for an apprentice to start using magic. Hearing this, Liam concludes that this body has an affinity for magic. Bruno points out that the boy can gain status in the kingdom with this gift and asks if he's studying this hard to become the heir to the family. Liam answers no, but still, Bruno only advises his brother not to become a target of Albrevet. Following this, after learning all the initial fire spells, Liam picks up the ice spell Grimoire and is already excited for the next discoveries. In the meantime, the Earl calls his son in the hallway after finding out he can use magic. Therefore, he wants the young man to show it. Liam freezes the grimoire he's holding, but since this doesn't convince the father, he uses a fire spell without the help of the book. Now, Earl Hamilton is sure that the heavens have blessed his family and offers any grimoire the son wants. Hearing this, Liam is happy as he has never seen his father so excited. Subsequently, a staff member informs the Earl that he has arrived. Immediately, Hamilton orders his troops to be gathered. Liam left there, frustrated, not knowing what was going on. But since his father had promised him any book he wanted, the boy tried to stay calm. Along the way, he met a man who asked if Liam was one of Hamilton's sons. When Liam introduced himself, the man regretted his previous actions, though he believed it was his destiny. Therefore, he told the young boy to do as he wished. Liam didn't understand what the man meant, so he asked if the noble youth had come to capture him. However, as the boy continued to be confused, the man gave up on the conversation and admitted he'd been a bit out of sorts lately. Noticing the boy's book, he explained that the best way to learn magic was through constant and repeated practice, but he mentioned there was a more efficient method. Liam was curious, so the man showed him his hand and conjured a different element on each finger. The boy was fascinated and wanted to know how this was possible. The mysterious man asked him to draw a circle on the ground with his right hand and a square with his left, all at the same time. As the boy performed the task perfectly, the stranger declared that this was the essence of what he wanted to teach. Then he asked Liam to try using different magics with both hands. The boy visualized Flame Cutter with his right hand and a fireball with his left. When he released both at the same time, he and the mysterious mage was impressed because this technique, called Mystic, could only be used by 1 in a million. Next, Liam was tasked with summoning 3 spells simultaneously. He conjured Flame Cutter, Fireball, and Boiling Ground, but the magics dissipated quickly, and he thought he had failed. However, the teacher said it was a success. All that was missing was the magical power that the students still lacked, especially since this technique consumed an absurd amount of it. To teach the young boy to control his magical power, the man drew prime numbers on the ground and mentioned that this method only worked with them. Meaning, once Liam reached the 4th simultaneous spell, you would encounter problems because those numbers aren't primes. After surpassing 4 spells due to his previous experience, he wouldn't get stuck on the 6, remembering that 6 is also a prime number. Likely the boy would get stuck on 9 due to the change from even to odd numbers. By the way, the mage cast 13 spells into the sky at once and claimed that was his limit. He could reach 16 with his magical power, but the prime number after 13 is 17, which is a significant jump. Regardless, the teacher asked the pupil's age, and upon hearing he was 12, declared the boy had a bright future ahead, because youth is a weapon, and the ability to heed others' advice is an even more powerful one. With that said, the tutor handed over a ring called Magipedia to the boy, which contained hundreds of grimoires within it. When Liam put on the accessory, he felt over 300 spells bubbling in his head. For this reason, he wasted no time and tested a wind spell. However, when he turned to share the experience with the teacher, he had vanished. At the same time, the maid arrived, scolding the boy for wandering so far because there was a suspicious man lurking in Hamilton territory. Setting that aside, the girl gave Liam a Conjuring for Beginners grimoire on behalf of the Count. Finally, she asked the boy to come back soon and said goodbye. When she left, the teacher reappeared out of nowhere and mentioned he had to hide with an invisibility spell, but he couldn't stay there for long, so he would teach one more thing to Liam. He asked the boy to open the grimoire and conjure something using the ring. Liam turned to the page of the fire salamander and performed the process. The creature appeared but entered the grimoire. Upon this, the teacher explained that the Magipedia absorbed the book's content. Impressed, Liam didn't want to accept something so special, but the man said that the ring itself wasn't anything special. It was just convenient not to have to carry tons of books on his back. Then he asked the boy to conjure more creatures, and Liam repeated the process 3 more times. However, when he looked around, the teacher had disappeared again, leaving the following message: continue studying magic. We will meet again somewhere. Please don't tell anyone about me. After reading the message, despite the brief time together and not knowing his name, Liam came to regard the mysterious man as his master. A month after the tutor's departure, the pupil continued studying and practicing his learning, reaching much more complex levels of spellcraft. One day, Bruno went to the forest to see his brother and noticed white coal with him, which burns at a much higher temperature than normal coal, besides not producing smoke and lasting much longer. Moreover, Liam was able to produce crystals that recover magical power, all with his magic. Bruno praised his brother and concluded that the kid would know how to get by without him, especially since Bruno was about to marry a woman of low nobility. Taking the opportunity, he mentioned a severe mistake their father made right after Liam was born. The Count wanted a daughter so he could marry her off to someone from the royal family and maintain the Hamilton status. However, since Liam was born male, the Count became desperate for achievements and sent 1,000 men to kill a powerful monster sealed in these lands. However, the army suffered a severe defeat and lost 90% of its regiment. Because of such things, Bruno was sure the Hamiltons were about to crumble, so Liam needed to find a way to lead his life independently, just as Bruno was doing by getting married. Following the advice, Liam sold the items he had crafted and earned good money to finance his independence. Afterward, he satisfied his hunger with ramen. Noticing that the noodle was popular around these parts, he had an idea. Then he went to his mate and showed her a simple recipe where he just added sauce to the dry noodle, removed the moisture with magic, and boiled it with hot water. Soon he started calling this dish instant ramen, also known as Big Noodle. Excited, Liam tries to sell his new product, but the first merchant explains that only the eldest son of the Hamiltons can conduct business on these lands without prior authorization. Frustrated, Liam leaves only to find out that Albrevet, the eldest, had instructed the merchant to say so, fearing what his brother could achieve with his magic. Meanwhile, Liam considers leaving his father's lands to start his business. To do this, he conjures an inventory to store his resources. Then he summons a contract. According to the young man, there are two types of summoning magic: spirit and contract. The latter summons living creatures that become servants to the summoner. However, Liam is about to use this contract magic on himself. When he does, he celebrates the successful creation of an illusory clone, which he uses to travel in his stead beyond the Hamilton lands. Several days later, the original Liam receives various items in his inventory from the clone. This item box can be used simultaneously by both at a distance. Thus, the original produces the resources and the clone sells them outside the Hamilton territory. With this, Liam is convinced that he will achieve his independence. Not only that, this is perfect for him to train magic because now Liam can make his duplicate imitate the magic he's casting, doubling the damage. In the midst of one of these training sessions, Albrevet shows up to see how his brother is doing, having heard that the boy has been making impressive progress lately. Therefore, the eldest asks what the fifth brother wants to be when he grows up. Upon hearing this question, Liam immediately senses trouble brewing and makes it clear that he does not want to be the heir and take the place of the eldest. With this in mind, he says he wants to become independent soon and find a job that allows him to eat well. Considering this, Albrevet decides to introduce Liam to the Hunters Guild. Later, when he arrives at the guild, the hunters find the presence of a child amusing and start mocking the boy, laughing loudly. But Liam ignores the taunts and goes straight to a man at the reception. The man says he's heard of the young Hamilton through Albrevet and that he will need to pass a test to be accepted into the organization. Of course, something easier, because sending the Count's son to his death would cause a huge problem. Having said that, the receptionist asks Liam to use an attack spell he's mastered, chanting the incantation calmly. However, Liam admits he doesn't even know what an incantation is, so the receptionist tells him to attack directly. Before acting, Liam laments that his illusion is active, which greatly reduces the power, but with no other choice, he performs the attack. The result leaves everyone speechless, as most there had never seen such a spell before. Without much thought, the test supervisor says he can give a C-rank license, but then corrects himself and upgrades it to B rank. Leaving there with his new license, Liam wonders about the strength of B rank. In the midst of this, a girl approaches him and asks if he's a Hamilton. Liam confirms, and then the girl introduces herself as Asuna Okwage and invites the boy to hunt with her, saying it's safer in a group. Despite the girl's somewhat goofy manner, Liam likes lively people and accepts the invitation. On their way to adventure, Liam notices they haven't taken any mission. Asuna explains that only A-rank hunters and above take hunting jobs. B-rank and below go after dangerous creatures, like the wolves they just encountered, to defeat and collect a reward. Despite the initial confidence, Asuna realizes there are far more wolves than she thought and concludes that they're in trouble. Even so, Liam conjures the gnome ability, creating several little monsters that get bitten by the wolves. However, the gnomes swell and jam the wolves' jaws, preventing them from letting go. With this done, he asks Asuna to act and she finishes the fight. Soon the two return to the guild and impress the hunters with the 42 wolves they defeated. Taking advantage of the feat, the guild chief offers them another job. Shortly after, on the way to the new mission, Asuna is happy because they were hired directly, showing they've been recognized. The mission is simple: defeat a giant caterpillar before an important person passes by. About the monsters, Liam explains that they have magical stones in their bodies which allow them to use magic or advanced techniques. Compared to common beasts, they are much more dangerous. Today, Liam isn't using his illusion to save strength for this challenge. Later, after a long and exhausting battle, the two were just worn out. The carnivorous caterpillar was so resilient that no attack, not even the spells, could penetrate its carapace. Therefore, they retreat without accomplishing anything. Honestly, Asuna just wishes a meteor would fall on the creature's head. Hearing this, Liam gets an idea. After explaining the plan to his companion, the duo returns to the fight. Asuna lures the monster while Liam conjures his item box. As soon as he finishes, he pulls out a giant rock from the inventory and drops it on the insect, leaving Asuna terrified. Not just her, when they return to the guild, they leave everyone in disbelief, After all, they didn't just bring back the carcass of one carnivorous caterpillar, but two. Liam explains that he found the second with the enemy search spell. Finally, with their excellent performance on the mission, the guild chief offers a reward 5 times the initial amount. Several days later, Albrecht appears to his younger brother and says he was right to recommend him for the Hunters Guild, asking him to keep up the effort. When the man leaves, Asuna confesses she didn't much like his manner. Internally, Liam reflects that, to the eldest, the brothers are all nuisances. Setting that aside, it's time to receive the important person who was mentioned earlier. After all, the caterpillars were eliminated just to clear the path for this individual. When the man takes a look at the two, Asuna gets all excited, thinking that if they catch the attention of someone important, she and Liam could move up in life. Indeed, the man was very interested in Liam, so much so that he requested a meeting. Soon after, the protagonist is face-to-face with James Stanley, who, surprised to learn that Liam is the son of Charles Hamilton, asks about his relation to Raymond. Liam is lost, so the old man explains that Raymond is the owner of the ring he's wearing and wants to know if the boy killed the mage and stole the item. Distressed by the accusation, Liam stands up and says very seriously that he received the ring from his master. James bursts out laughing because it's just like the mage to get himself into the most dangerous possible situation and still find it dissipable. With that, he asks Simon, the butler, to stay put and orders Liam to attack the man with the best spell he has, using full force. Despite the strange request, Liam doesn't back down, and when Simon raises the magical shield, the boy focuses to do his part. Researching incantations, Liam discovered that reciting one can temporarily increase the mana limit you can release. For him, the best words are the names of the singers he's always loved: Amelia, Amelia, and Claudia. After chanting these names, he launches 11 magical missiles at the target. Afterward, he realizes that his limit with the incantation rose from 7 to 11. The last missile breaks Simon's shield and hits him squarely. James is pleased with the boy's power and announces that he will knight him, making Liam independent, which leaves the young man completely shocked. After knighting Liam, James tells him there's nothing specific left for him to do, but being freed from dealing with his older brother should be enough. Despite this, the Earl might have mixed feelings about his son's title, as he'd likely want to use Liam's powers for the family's benefit. Aware of this, Liam feels uncomfortable, but James explains that he can still contribute in other ways because his merits as a Hamilton also belong to the family. With that said, the old man remarks that Raymond loves playing tricks and asks if Liam has ever fallen for any of them. On this matter, Liam shares that once he commanded the item box to absorb an entire lake, and among the collected items he found a waterproof letter from Raymond. In it, the master stated that if the apprentice was reading this, it meant he had mastered the item box. Since the box doesn't absorb gold bars, the wizard had scattered 100 kilograms of gold particles throughout the lake as a graduation gift for his student. Moreover, Liam should consider why the master had specifically chosen 100 kilograms, as this was part of the graduation test. Initially, Liam thinks Raymond chose 100 kilograms because that was what he managed to produce in the item box himself. After hearing the story, James comments that the gold is just a distraction and that Liam's real gift is hidden nearby, so it wouldn't be too easy to find. With this in mind, Liam returns to the lake and absorbs all the water again, looking for any clue about the so-called real gift. Upon reflection, he realizes that the item box wouldn't have absorbed gold bars along with the water, so he decides to refill the lake only with the particles. When he does, the gold activates a magical circle, which opens an underground passage. Down below, next to a book, Liam finds another letter from his master. Liam, this is your true graduation gift. I give you this grimoire of high-level spells. I myself couldn't use it, but I hope you can. Then the boy reads the book's title, Otherworld. Although he's not exactly sure what spell this is, Liam Hamilton spends the entire day trying to figure it out. When night falls, he summons a low-level light spirit to serve as a lamp. Despite his utmost effort, he still hasn't managed to cast the spell even once. However, he knows there's no need to rush, and that he just needs to follow the steps in the grimoire precisely. Sometime later, Liam returns to the same secret passage and finally summons a portal using the Otherworld magic. Fearless of what might be on the other side, the young mage steps through the door and finds himself in an all-white cubicle. He discovers that this spell creates a space in another world, the size of which depends on the summoner's skills and mana. Moreover, without the creator's permission, no one else can enter. Once fully mastered, the spell allows for the storage of items without them disappearing like an item box, but with a difference: living beings can enter the space. Thus, one could build a house inside or anything else one's imagination can conjure. Given this, Liam deeply thanks his master. A month later, Liam and Asuna face a giant frog. During the fight, he summons his salamanders to attack, but realizes that fire doesn't work against the monster. Quickly, Liam pulls Asuna into the other world as the frog begins to release a massive electric discharge. Safely inside the portal, the two wait for the surge to pass before launching a joint attack that ends the battle. Afterward, they bring the magical stone from the frog to the guild. It was an A-rank job, and once again, the branch chief is impressed, praising Liam extensively. Meanwhile, Asuna realizes she's never the focus of these situations. She laments not being as strong as her friend and fears being left behind in the future. Hearing this, the chief suggests she sign a contract to become Liam's servant, explaining that depending on the master's performance, the familiar's skills also evolve. Liam finds this odd since it would give him power to command over the girl, but Asuna trusts him completely and doesn't mind. Thus, the two take the proposal seriously and perform the establishment of the contract. As soon as the pact is completed, Asuna disappears suddenly and reappears behind Liam. She explains that at the moment of the contract, she heard a voice saying that her special ability, Speedster, had been awakened. On the other hand, Liam wants to test this power with someone, and Asuna already has someone in mind to help. She takes her friend to Jody, a veteran hunter who agrees to participate in the experiment. Upon arriving at the guild, Jody catches everyone's attention. She looks in the mirror and comments that this special ability she's feeling seems quite nostalgic. Curious, Asuna asks what the veteran's special ability is. Then Jody disappears for a while and comes back with 2 sandwiches, offering one to a man with an injured arm. When he takes a bite, his arm regenerates completely, leaving everyone agape. Several days later, James Stanley informs Liam that Her Highness, Princess Scarlet of the Jamil Kingdom, is coming. She's interested in the young man. James explains that the boy has been very successful in A-rank jobs at the guild despite being only 10 years old, in addition to being capable of using 11 spells at the same time and having the power to evolve and rejuvenate his familiars. Therefore, the princess is curious, especially about the familiars, and wants him to do a demonstration. However, Liam flatly refuses, saying that his friends are not circus monkeys. With no other choice, James sends the boy away. After he leaves, James apologizes to the princess, who is actually there all along disguised as a maid. Scarlet then wonders if Liam will have the courage to refuse the proposal in front of her. The next day, Liam is dropped off by a carriage in front of the mansion of the all-powerful Scarlet Sherry. He is struck by the number of soldiers guarding her door, realizing how important the first princess is. Inside the throne room, he introduces himself while the princess orders a chair to be brought for the guest. Without mincing words, she wants to know how the young man defeated the carnivorous caterpillars and the giant frog. If that's all he'll talk about, Liam sees no problem in sharing. After hearing the story, the woman is impressed to learn for the first time that someone has killed a giant frog without using high-level spells. She asks if it is also the first time James Stanley has heard of this, and he admits that it is because powerful magic is usually employed. Changing the subject, Scarlet asks the guest to show his familiars to her. Internally, Liam feels the overwhelming pressure from this aristocrat's authority, but declines the offer so as not to yield to it. Scarlet loses the smile on her face and questions if the boy will really refuse her request, and he reaffirms that he will because he doesn't want to turn his companions into a spectacle. Hearing this, the princess laughs, and amused by the young man's entertainment, she grants him the title of Baron. Confused, he comments that he did nothing to deserve this, but the woman replies that amusing her twice is enough, and that's far better than giving away a daughter in marriage. Besides, she gives Liam a familiar contract grimoire, and this gift indeed brings uncontrollable joy to the mage, which greatly intrigues the monarch, as he prefers the book to the noble title. After this meeting, Liam examines his new book and imagines that until he masters its content, his familiar contracts will dissolve if he's not with the grimoire. At this moment, Bruno comes to celebrate with his brother on being named a baron, though he thinks that Albrevet must be fuming by now. Indeed, Liam has earned a higher title than their father, as the nobility of this nation is divided between those of the first generations who achieved something on their own, and those who merely inherited titles. As Liam is among those who conquered, he holds more value. At night, when the fifth son returns home, Albrevet passes him in the corridor and tells him to wait for what's to come. Thinking alone about this, the eldest son does not understand how this kid has been gaining so much attention lately. By the way, 2 maids were discussing Liam's great deeds recently. Annoyed by hearing this, Albrevet asks why they don't go work with the 5th son, since he's so great. As the 2 apologize, he directly asks who they think is the best, him or Liam. Terrified, of course, the women respond that Albrevet is the best, so he walks away and promises to himself that he will achieve something, because if that brat can do it, certainly he can too. In the morning, the men of the kingdom are enchanted by the beauty of Baron Liam Hamilton's familiars. Jody calls the Baron master, and he does not understand why. She explains that they have a master-servant relationship, but the boy insists on being called by name. Even understanding the boy's requests, Asuna comments that he looks very much like a master because of his attitudes. Seizing the moment, Jody admits that her heart beats faster when she's near him, leaving the men who were drooling over the two quite irritated. Finally, Liam asks if the two are in agreement to form a group, and the three shake hands to seal a decision. Later in the forest, Jody hits a wolf with an arrow, while Asuna strikes another with her sword. Liam praises Asuna's improvement in movements, and she smiles back. Jody realizes that she can see much better than before, which is crucial for an archer, as an archer's vision is as if their life depends on it. After hearing his friend's comment, Liam casts his development ability on her, enabling her to see even farther. Asuna asks what Liam did, and he explains that he applied his spell to enhance Jody's eyes. Excited, Asuna asks if he can do the same for her. But the boy thinks it's not a good idea because although he can enhance Asuna's attack power, it would also increase the burden on her body, like when someone punches something and ends up breaking their own bones. However, if it's just an upgrade in vision, that's fine. Upon hearing this, Asuna gladly accepts, while Jody, using her newly enhanced vision, hits a wolf at an incredible distance, and the two familiars give all the credit to Liam for his incredible magic. In the late afternoon, the trio returns to the Hunters Guild and sees a big commotion. Asuna asks a man what's happening, and he explains that the eldest Hamilton's son messed up. Another man shouts that after breaking the seal, Albrevet failed miserably, so Liam remembers when his older brother told him to wait and see. For this reason, he believes he is to blame and rushes out of the guild. Inside the forest, several soldiers are being removed from battle due to severe injuries. When Liam arrives there, he sees that Albrevet is weakened and approaches to see how his brother is doing. Terrified, Albrevet screams that he will not fail. But the guild master of hunters strikes him on the back and orders him to be removed, as he will no longer support this useless rivalry between young masters. Regarding this, Liam emphasizes that he is also responsible for this tragedy, but the man asserts that he is not. Asuna asks what's inside the forest, and the master explains that the demon dragon Raiden was sealed nearby. Liam's great-grandfather sealed the beast, but the seal was undone. He knows how to seal the dragon again and has gathered people for this, but the Raiden Jr.'s offspring of Raiden are preventing it from happening, and they were the ones who caused this disaster. Since the offspring are capable of doing all this, Liam can only imagine when the father enters the fight, but the guild master explains that the adult was sealed for too long and needs a few weeks to recover its strength, so they need to seal his winged monster before that happens. Speaking of the dragons, the three hatchlings appeared beside their father, toppling other warriors along the way. Asuna noted that the young dragons were the size of a medium-sized dog and shouldn't pose much of a problem, so she attacked one. In response, the dragon hatchling spat fire, melting an entire tree in the blink of an eye, which made the girl retreat as a precaution. Liam cast the 7 magic missiles, but the 3 dragons easily repelled the magic with their fire. Realizing they couldn't defeat these foes, Jody insisted they escape as quickly as possible. Liam acknowledged these 3 dragons were stronger than he had anticipated and urged Asuna to grab Jody and use her sprinter ability to get out of there. As they left, the mage summoned his item box and retrieved his grimoire to recite his chant Amelia, Amelia, Claudia. He then conjured a portal to another world and hurled the dragons inside. After that, the boy knelt down and took a deep breath, his life having hung by a thread. Meanwhile, the guild master approached Liam, impressed that he had defeated the Raiden Juniors. When night fell, the kingdom's mages united to begin the sealing of Raiden, the demon dragon. Asuna and Jody returned to the master and inquired about the spell he had used against the monster's offspring. Liam explained that it was the Another World ability used to create an alternate space. Even with an enchantment, it was difficult to activate, but once triggered, it could store living creatures within. In this case, Liam had locked the 3 Raiden Juniors inside. Asuna asked if they could survive in there, but the boy told them not to worry. Since he hadn't yet mastered the spell, the things he placed inside tended to disappear on their own. Noticing that it wasn't an attack spell, Asuna praised the boy's cleverness for managing to trap the dragons there. Suddenly, a voice emerged from nowhere, calling for the tiny human of the Great Soul. Soon, Liam found himself in an environment where he directly faced the demon dragon. When addressed this way by the boy, Raiden realized this was how humans referred to him, but he wasn't concerned with all these definitions humans use, since in a few hundred years they would call them something else. By the way, Raiden asked who the tiny one with the great soul was. Liam introduced himself as an ordinary human, but the dragon argued that the boy's body and soul were not in sync. Thinking to himself, Liam figured the dragon must have discovered he was an adult in a boy's body and might even know the cause. Even though the human hadn't said anything, Raiden read his thoughts and replied that he didn't know the cause but would love to accompany Liam to see his life up close, for from what he observed, the mage led an interesting life. The dragon promised to do no harm. On the contrary, he would lend his strength to the small human, but only as much as needed for Liam to build his foundations with his own effort. Hearing such words, Liam didn't hesitate and accepted the offer, feeling no hostility from Raiden. Thus, Raiden announced he would rent Liam's great soul for a while and entered him. Done with that, Asuna drew Liam's attention to his hand. When he looked at his palm, Liam noticed a red mark. The master believed the young man had absorbed the demon dragon, while Liam felt an immense power from within. To test his new ability, he fired magic missiles into the air and 11 shot out without an incantation, something that had never happened before. Then Liam recited the incantation and repeated the spell. This time, 17 magic missiles were conjured and perfectly controlled by the caster. Around the boy, the other mages seemed to lose strength, so Raiden communicated with Liam, asking him to contain his mana as it was affecting the sorcerers. On the other hand, Misuna and Jody remained calm, guessing that it might be because they were relatives of the young baron. Finally, the Adventurers Guild Master thanked Liam for taking care of the demon dragon. Having said that, to the adult's surprise, a boy summoned his item box again and poured out 10 kilograms of gold dust as compensation for the trouble, with the largest amount designated for those injured in the battle. Grateful for this, the master amused himself that if Liam were the head of the Hamilton family instead of Albrevet, everything would be better. When night arrived, Charles, Liam's father, thanked his son for fixing the mess Albrevet had made. Liam asked what would happen to his brother, and the Earl explained that the eldest son would be confined at home for a while. Liam knew the worst punishment could have been expulsion for Albrevet. Charles emphasized that Lord James was still in town and that the story would spread throughout the nation and Liam was likely to be rewarded for it. However, despite his father's words, Liam felt guilty for his brother's behavior and went to his brother's room door to say something, although he didn't know what to say. Inside, Albrevet was screaming that the Hamilton family was ruined because the demon dragon had been defeated by Liam, who wasn't even their family, and that he was the one who should have sealed the creature. After hearing this, Liam gave up on talking to his brother and pondered that, in the end, Albrevet was the one who most wanted to protect the Hamilton family. That night, the young baron woke up and remembered having a strange dream where he practiced new magics that probably came from Raiden, the demon dragon. Excited by this new possibility, he ran to the forest where he usually trained to reproduce the 2 spells he saw in his dream. The first emanated a sensation similar to that of another world, and with enough practice, Liam felt he could master it. Hours passed, and the boy learned the magic and summoned a Raiden Jr. Suddenly, Princess Scarlet arrived and was impressed by the sacred magic the young man had used. For resolving the situation with the dragon, she awarded him the 3rd-class Phoenix insignia, a decoration celebrating the birth of a new hero who defeated the demon dragon. But for that, Liam needed to tell this story so it could be written down. The problem was that for some reason, when the Baron told the story, the princess told him not to tell anyone else about it. The next day, Liam received 3,000 gold coins from the princess, and the boy understood this as Scarlet wanting to buy his silence. Guys, the source will be in the description, and also my brother and I created a manhwa channel. The link will be there along with the source. Check out the channel, and if you like it, please subscribe. See you.